Hey YouTube, what's up? It's CS back here with another installment, and here's my review for UFC 145 Jones versus Evans. Alright folks, before I start reviewing fights like crazy, I just want to let you guys know who won my contest for UFC 145, and it was HBomb3712, my good friend Evan. He will be receiving this shirt in the mail, this Rashad Evans, come get some sugar. I don't know, I think it's a pretty cool shirt. He's going to be receiving it hopefully very soon. Dude, I hope you fit a large. Thank you for participating. Of course, he won that shirt because he picked Jon Jones to win via decision. And, of course, he was subscribed. So, yeah, there you go. That's all it takes to win one of my contests. And I'm actually going to reveal my next contest. It's going to be for UFC on Fox, Diaz versus Miller. And this shirt is going to be given away to someone who tells me the winner of the co-main event, because this is actually Josh Koscheck's shirt. So, yeah, just tell me who's winning between Josh Koscheck and Johnny Hendricks. Be subscribed and tell me around if necessary, and this could be yours. But folks, now let's move on to this event, shall we, and start reviewing it. Jon Jones versus Rashad Evans. Those guys threw down in the main event. What did you guys think of that? But what did you think of this event overall? In my opinion, nothing really to add to the end of the year highlight reel. It ended up being fight night like quality like I thought, but I thought it would have been a more fun fight night like kind of card, but it didn't. You know, a lot of guys disappointed me. You know, what's Mark Hominick going out there and losing to Eddie again for? You know, Eddie's my dude, but, you know, Mark Hominick should not be dropping fights like that. I'll get to breaking down that in a sec or soon. Of course, guys like Brendan Schaub lost too. Schaub, his hype's done, body bag, whatever. I don't know. Disappointing for some who should have had these fights locked up. But guys like Rory MacDonald, guys like Travis Browne, who are supposed to go out there and wreck these dudes, did. So props to them. But yeah, let's just move on with taking a look at these fights individually. Let's start off with the main event for the light heavyweight championship between the champion Jon Jones and the challenger Rashad Evans. Well, there it is, folks. Jon Jones made it look easy over Rashad Evans in a 5-round unanimous decision victory. Props to Jon Jones. Pretty much won this fight wherever it took place. Of course, it was mostly on the feet, but specifically two areas in the feet, you know, in close quarters, and of course, you know, when it was distance, when Rashad Evans was subjected to that 84.5-inch reach by Jon Jones. Jon Jones popping that jab, some combinations here and there, but for the most part, keeping Rashad Evans at bay with them punches. And of course, Rashad Evans was also taking side kicks to the leg. And that's not good if you're Rashad Evans, because you have quite a stanky leg if you're Rashad Evans. So Jon Jones just keeping him at bay for the most part. But of course, when it came into close quarters, kind of like in a clinch mode, sometimes they was, you know, holding each other's hands, and Jon Jones would elbow him to the side of his face, and that's why Rashad Evans was welting over here and shit. And yeah, that was nasty as hell. You know, Jon Jones knows his body so well that he's able to beat even stockier guys who are supposed to have some type of advantage in close quarters. He's able to beat those kind of guys. Someone like Rashad Evans should be able to land hooks and his best punches within that range, and he just wasn't able to over the course of this fight. So props to Jon Jones for just dominating wherever it took place. I thought Evans would take it down to the ground, or at least try to. He didn't do that hard enough, and I'm not saying he would have. When I think about it, I really don't know what Rashad Evans wants to do, what he would want to do in this fight. If I was Rashad Evans, what do I do? You know, of course, he had Jon Jones rock the one round, and I thought that he should have gone all out, Vanderlei Silva on him, Mauricio Shogun Hua style, shoot box on Jon Jones when he had Jon Jones slightly rocked. Jon Jones proceeded to recover, of course, and maybe Rashad Evans, if he does pounce on him, maybe he exposes Jon Jones to the point where Jon Jones gets TKO'd, but, you know, Rashad did not feel like engaging because he's afraid to get countered somehow. But he has to remember that this guy in Jon Jones is not Thiago Silva. He's not Rampage Jackson. He's not Lyoto Machida. He doesn't have a lot of stopping power in his hands. Jon Jones hits hard with them elbows, but he's not going to counter with an elbow, you know what I'm saying, or something that's going to put Rashad Evans on his ass. If he's going to counter with anything, it's probably going to be a punch when he's kind of rocked. And I don't see that 84.5-inch reach having lost snap to the point where it even takes, you know, Rashad Evans off his feet with his stanky legs. So I thought that Rashad Evans should have fought harder specifically at that point. He didn't. And because of that, he let Jon Jones get comfortable again. And for the rest of the fight, Jon Jones, you know, 10-9, 10-9, you know what I'm saying? So I thought Jon Jones took every round. I thought two judges got it wrong. You know, they both gave Rashad Evans a round. To me, that's BS. for the most part, Rashad Evans just got subjected to that reach, and if not, he was eating some elbows. So solid win for Jon Jones, doing what he's kind of supposed to. I thought he was really going to get a finish, but if he's going to win a decision, I'm happy with him winning a decision like that. So good win for Jon Jones. What's next for him? Maybe Dan Henderson. I'm pretty sure Dana White's hinted at that. You know how I feel about that one, guys. I don't want to see it. Dan Henderson's my boy. Jon Jones my boy. But more so Dan Henderson. I've loved watching Dan Henderson's fights since ever. But I thought he was acting like a diva and shit, just saying, yo, I should get this title shot because I beat Shogun. And I beat Fedor because of that. But those guys are washed up. You know what I'm saying? Fedor is not Fedor from 6 years ago. And Mauricio Shogun Hua is not Mauricio Shogun Hua, even 2 years ago. That guy is so washed up. What is Dan Henderson clamoring about, trying to get a title shot for almost losing to that guy? So, I don't know. I ain't feeling that. I'd rather see Alexander Gustafsson versus Dan Henderson in the #1 contenders match. Again, tell me how you feel about that. As for Rashad Evans, what should we do with him? Maybe him versus Lyoto Machida in rematch. I wouldn't mind that. But yeah, that's about it for my thoughts on the main event and the fighters in it. Alright folks, now let's move on to that Rory MacDonald, Shea Mills co-main event welterweight match, where we saw Rory MacDonald do exactly what he was expected of him. Of course, that was to go in there, take Shea Mills to the ground, and essentially rape him. Guys, Shea Mills is a solid striker, but that's about it. He's the definition of a stereotypical British fighter. Pretty solid stand-up skills, although he's not the typical brawler. This guy can actually, technically throw well. He's pretty active when doing so as well. Doesn't get outstruck, has a lot of stopping power in his straight punches and his combinations, and he has pretty good kicks as well. But that's pretty much the extent of his offensive talent. If you do get your hands on him, especially like a guy like Rory MacDonald, if he gets his hands on someone like Shea Mills is going down. And yeah, that's what happened. And once Shea Mills was down, he got pretty much raped, like I just said, So what can I say? Nice TKO victory for Rory MacDonald in the first round. Props to Rory MacDonald for doing so. I didn't exactly like this match because, I've seen guys get hyped up and get straight thrown to the wolves, but the UFC is taking the boxing approach with someone like Rory MacDonald, trying to pad his record. I'm not sure if I like that because the welterweight division really is kind of thin at the top, if you ask me. Like, Carlos Condit's the interim champion, and I don't know. Carlos Condit's my dude, but to me, he's kind of frail, and he even almost lost to this Rory MacDonald guy before Rory MacDonald got, into apeshit mode like he is right now. So, what can I say? I think Rory MacDonald's that good. I think he's going to be the best in that division, in years to come. So, I can't wait for that. What do I want to see him do next? I'd like to see him versus the winner of Charlie Brenneman, Eric Silva. Preferably Eric Silva. I think Eric Silva gets by Charlie Brenneman, and I'd like to see what Brazil's best young gun can do against Canada's best young gun. So, if that ever happens, holler at your boy. As for someone like Shea Mills, I'd like to see him face Paulo Thiago. I think Paulo Thiago wants to redeem himself against a striker, not get hit, and do what, Rory MacDonald did. I think that's what Paulo Thiago wants to do against someone like Shea Mills, because he couldn't do so against someone like CR Bahadurzada. So stay tuned for that. Props to Shea Mills for going out there and, taking a beating, but props to Rory MacDonald for doing exactly what he's supposed to do. But now let's move on to someone who didn't do what he was supposed to do. Brendan Schaub, of course, he got knocked out in the first round via punches by Ben Rothwell. The same Rothwell who gassed against Mark Hunt and got out-wrestled by him. K1 Mark Hunt became D1 Mark Hunt in that fight. And yeah, that was just not a good look. And I'm like, if Ben Rothwell's going to come in here trying to out-wrestle Brendan Schaub, he probably ain't going to do so. And he's probably going to look worse as the fight goes on. And I expected Brendan Schaub to win at least a unanimous decision. If not, knock out Ben Rothwell early. Ben Rothwell obliged to strike with Brendan Schaub. I'm like, that's going to get him knocked out. Brendan Schaub does have pretty good stopping power in his fists. And, I thought his chin was decent enough to not get knocked out by Ben Rothwell type punches, especially a counter baby hook. I was wrong. Brendan Schaub's chin is that whack. There goes his hype. Body bag, young, tough finalis, relatively marketable, but loses to Ben Rothwell like that. at least it looked cool, because if Ben Rothwell was going to win, I thought it was going to be some boring ass unanimous decision where he would just get on top of Brendan Schaub and not even bother to pass or ground pound that hard. But he did it in the form of some nice flash knockout. Nice win for Ben Rothwell. What's next for him? I don't know. Mike Russo, I want to see what he could do in terms of that stand-up against someone who's going to want to wrestle only. I think that would be a good fight for him. As for Brendan Schaub, I don't know. Him versus Czech Congo, I don't know. He probably gets knocked out there. I don't know what they do with Brendan Schaub. All right, folks. Now let's move on to that Michael MacDonald, Miguel Torres, bantamweight bout, and this is the one I wanted to see most besides the main event. And damn, Michael MacDonald put in the work. You know, I didn't think he was gonna win via knockout. I thought he'd go in there and put Miguel Torres either on his back or on the cage. You know, use his size, overwhelm him there, maybe win via strike somehow like that. But to find an opening the way he did and just put out Miguel Torres with that power, you know, that was kind of impressive. You know, Miguel Torres, you know, not the greatest chin. It's not a horrible chin, but the way he got laid out like that, and he had everything going for him in terms of his guard. His chin was down, his hands were up. You know, he just got clocked, I guess, you know. So, nice win for Michael MacDonald, putting him out like that. And I guess, you know, going up against a Miguel Torres, you know, with a little bit of power and some aggressiveness, this is what you can accomplish against that guy, especially when Miguel Torres is not letting him know, hey, I'm going to use my jab game. You know, Torres just wasn't establishing the fact that he would be in Michael MacDonald's face like that. So Michael MacDonald had no fear just going in like that and just clocking Miguel Torres. So a way to put in work for Michael MacDonald. Good for him. What's next for him? He said he wants Brad Pickett. Make it happen. That fight is exciting no matter where it goes. And I think he should give the winner of that a #1 contenders match. Who knows? We'll see. As for Miguel Torres, what do you do with him? You know, his days of becoming close to top 5 again are over. You know, he has such an obvious style. You can take him down and not get submitted and win like that, or you can do what Michael MacDonald just did. So I don't know what they want to do with Miguel Torres. But now let's move on to another obvious fight. Mark Homnick versus Eddie Agin in featherweight. And I'm glad Eddie Agin won. He's my dude. You know, Filipino pride, represent. He did some work on Mark Homnick. Props to him for getting that split decision victory. But guys, Mark Homnick, skill set wise, should win this bout if you ask me. You know, I think he's the better technical striker. He has the length on Eddie Agin, and he can just stick that jab and pile up some combinations. You know, if Eddie Agin feels like coming in, you know, I think Mark Homnick's a better counterpuncher, but he was getting counterpunched in round 1 and half round 2 because he just wasn't urgent enough. You know what I'm saying? He was just not committing to his punches the way he should have. Wasn't walking forward as he should have, like he did in round 3 when Eddie Agin was totally gassed. So yeah, he basically let Eddie win this fight, if you ask me. You know, Mark Homnick really probably loses this fight even before Tompkins' death, rest in peace, because, you know, he just never has shown that much of urgency in a few of these fights. You know, in the Jose Aldo bout, it's understandable to not show urgency in that bout, but to not show urgency in, say, the Yves Jabouin bout, he waited for Yves to gas and then beat him. You know, that's what he was trying to do in this bout, if you ask me, and he just couldn't seal the deal in round 3. And yeah, you know, what can I say? I don't think he took round 2 either, because he got knocked down that round. And, you know, historically, the guy who scores a knockdown in the round probably gets it, although he got outstruck. So, you know, I gave it 29-28. Eddie Agin. Most pundits gave it to Eddie themselves, and 2 of the judges did as well. So props to Eddie Agin for doing work and upsetting Mark Homnick. If you got screwed up on your parlay, sucks. You know, so did I. What can you do? Mark Homnick just has to display some urgency in his next bout. He should beat guys like Eddie Agin, if you ask me. Now I think Mark Homnick should face someone like Diego Nunez, you know, another fighter who needs to display some urgency. So make that happen. We'll see who feels like fighting in that bout. As for Eddie Agin, you know, any brawl besides Leonard Garcia, I'm happy. Alrighty, folks, now let's move on to that bout that kicked off the main card. This last bout from the main card I will be breaking down, of course. That's between Mark Bocek and John Alessio. Guys, Mark Bocek put on a grappling clinic here. John Alessio really not a match for Mark Bocek, if you ask me. You know, Alessio, to you guys who don't know who he is, jack of all trades, master of none, really doesn't do a good job of defending well from his opponent's strength. You know, he defended from not getting subbed, but really his offense was minimal in this bout. So Mark Bocek, UD, nice win for him. What's next for Bocek? Might as well make the Matt Wyman bout happen. It was supposed to go down. I still think it's kind of interesting. So yeah, let's make it happen then. As for John Alessio, journeyman, might as well put him up against another journeyman, maybe on a free card, him versus Eve Edwards, I wouldn't mind. Alrighty, folks, now let's move on to that preliminary card and take a look at it really fast, starting with the heavyweight bout between Chad Griggs and Travis Browne. And guys, what Travis Browne did, I loved. Basically what Rory MacDonald did. You could stand and strike with the guy on the feet, but why would you fuck with him in his strength while you are so much better than him elsewhere and just embarrass him there? So yeah, that's what Travis Browne did to Chad Griggs. Travis Browne, the more technically gifted fighter in all areas, but he's just so much better than Chad Griggs on the ground. You might as well take him there, especially when he's bigger, more athletic, faster. He has the means to do so. Might as well get him out really fast. Travis Browne did that with that arm triangle, and Chad Griggs found himself trying to get out of his own grave. If you know who Chad Griggs is, you'd get that. But yeah, Travis Browne versus the winner of Shane Del Rosario and Gabriel Gonzaga. I wouldn't mind. As for Chad Griggs, who knows, probably a no-name on a free card. Now let's move on to the Matt Brown versus Stephen Thompson welterweight bout. And if Stephen Thompson can't keep people at the end of his strikes, Stephen Thompson loses. Nice win for Matt Brown. What's next for him? I don't know. As for Stephen Thompson, let him strike. He's probably not going to become a top 15 welterweight ever. So yeah, let's make it exciting for that kid. Now let's move on to the John Makdessi, Anthony Njokuani bout. Guys, Anthony Njokuani pretty much the better striker in all areas. If you ask me, I think he's more technically gifted. I think he hits harder. I think his punches have a little bit more snap on him. I think he hits faster. You know what I'm saying? And he has the reach. Why should Makdessi be winning this fight? He's a flashy, stocky fighter. Not a lot of reach to him, and he was kind of missing with the flashy stuff. So yeah, Anthony Njokuani pretty much demoralized him, if you ask me, because Makdessi had nothing going for him for the most part. I think he rocked Njokuani maybe once, and Njokuani was picking him apart for the whole fight. So nice 30-27 victory for Anthony Njokuani. But as for who the assassin should face in this next bout, not totally sure. As for John Makdessi, I would not mind seeing him face Sam Stout on the next Canadian card. Has some, Quebec versus Ontario action going on there. Both strikers need to win. Both of them just got outstruck, so why not make that happen? But let's move on to that tough winners lightweight bout between Efrain Escudero and Mac Danzig. And when Efrain Escudero isn't following a game plan, then he looks not stellar like he did here. Mac Danzig, pretty decent fighter when he's not getting out wrestled, and he wasn't. So nice unanimous decision win for him here. I'd like to see him versus, Gomi. I wouldn't mind. As for Efrain Escudero, him versus Nick Lentz. Loser leaves UFC. Both guys don't know how to follow a game plan as of late, so make that happen. Now let's move on to that welterweight bout between Chris Clements and Keith Wisniewski. Whack. Why is this in the UFC on a pay-per-view? Let's move on. Maximo Blanco versus Marcus Brimage. Good work from Marcus Brimage, keeping that fight kind of exciting. Maximo Blanco not engaging as he should have. Like 2 years ago, Maximo Blanco would have. I don't know if it's the move to lightweight or if it's the UFC jitters. I don't know. Not to move to lightweight. I mean to move to featherweight, sorry. So yeah, I really don't know what's up with Maximo Blanco as of late. Maybe Pat Healy just shook him and just, derailed the hype train like Pat Healy does. So I don't know. Nice win for Marcus Brimage, taking advantage with his hands. As for who Brimage should face next, I wouldn't mind seeing him face Issei Tamura. As for Maximo Blanco, loser leaves UFC versus Eric Wisely. Well, there it is, folks. I hope you guys enjoyed what I had to say about UFC 145, Jones versus Evans. Tell me what you guys thought of what I had to say and the event itself in the comment section below. I would really appreciate it. I try to read everyone's comments and try to reply as best as possible, so, you aren't going unheard. Don't worry. Now, for my UFC on Fox 3 picks, of course, I already showed you guys that Josh Koscheck shirt that I am giving away for that, so we'll stay tuned for those picks. They should be up within the week. And yeah, if you want that shirt, just holler at me. You know what it is. Of course, you have to be subscribed as well. And I think that's all I have to say for now. Thanks for all the support once again. Thanks for viewing. Deuces for all my supporters, bruise for all my haters, and take care.